Alright everyone, in today's video we're going to be working on mounting our pump into our old pump tube, and we're also going to be working on the turret seal later on. But we'll just go ahead and start with the pump and what we're going to need for that. You're of course going to need your Hornet pump tube. This is just a standard one. I just took the pump head out and I've got a small length of tubing attached that will be replaced later. You're also going to need a piece of 3/4 inch PVC. We only realistically need about 1 3/4 inches of it, so you can just go ahead and put that off to the side. We're also going to need our AT3K pump tube, and we're going to be modifying this not extensively. We're going to drill a hole in the back, and we're also going to cut off this nub here and get rid of it. We're also going to need electrical tape to bridge the gaps. We're going to need our 9/16 drill bit and our handheld drill, a ruler so we can measure how much PVC we need, and a Sharpie, a pair of scissors to cut the electrical tape, and a good liquid epoxy, and some sandpaper. You're also going to need a Dremel with a sanding bit. My Dremel is out for service right now, so I don't have one. I'll be showing you guys how I do it with my belt sander and my scroll saw. So I can't make any cuts with the Dremel today, but I'll just show you guys what you need to do. First thing we need to do is we need to actually just drill a hole in the center of this back here. If you go ahead and just press in with your spade, you'll get a kind of a starting hole, and then you just drill it out slowly. Be very careful with your hands. There's going to be 2 layers of plastic that you're going to go through, and a small piece of rubber will likely come out. See, there's a little piece of rubber in there. That's the old check valve. You can try to shake it out, but if it doesn't come out, you can kind of shove it out of the way for now and drill through it. And then there's going to be a little graded portion in here that we just need to drill right on through. There we are. There's a little rubber piece still in there, but I'll just go ahead and grab that out with a pair of pliers real quick. Let me reach down and grab them. Now this little rubber piece is the old check valve from the pump. We don't need this anymore, so just go ahead and throw it off to the side. And I'm just going to clean out this hole a little bit more. So there we got a nice pass through. Now what we need to do next is this whole upper section here needs to go. I'm going to show you guys where we're going to need to cut. We're going to cut along here and along here. So basically we'll have kind of a keyhole slot, so this whole assembly will go away. A good way to start that is just by kind of like twisting on this until you break it off. Throw that away. And then you're going to want to take a Dremel and you're just going to make 2 small cuts along here. And I'm going to actually have to go do that in the scroll saw real quick since I don't have my Dremel today, so I'll go ahead and take you guys over to the scroll saw. Once you finish, you should come up with something like this. Basically, we just want our tubing from our pump. It's probably not going to be long enough to show, but we want the tubing from our Hornet pump to be able to come up where the original stub was. So that's why we went ahead and did all that. So as you see, nice keyhole slot. I got a little breakthrough at the back because I was using a scroll saw. But then at the top we've got that, and we've got a nice clean hole through the center. Now the next part we're going to be working on is our small piece of PVC. We're going to go saw this on the scroll saw to 1 3/4 inch. It'll only be about let's say about yay long. But basically this needs to be able to fit inside of this pump tube, which it obviously doesn't. They're very close to the same outer diameter. Now if you had a Dremel, basically what you would do is you would just keep on sanding it around and around and around. But for this video I'm going to have to show you it on the belt sander, but it's a pretty simple concept. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to bridge the gap between the pump, which fits pretty, it's got a little tiny bit of wiggle room, but it's fairly tight in there, and the pump tube itself. Now what a lot of people do is they just wrap it with electrical tape a bunch of times, but you see there's a lot of room in here, and I don't really trust that. So this way you get 2 small thin cross sections of epoxy, which I think will be stronger. We rough up the inside, but let's just go ahead and we're going to cut this to 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to sand the outside of this until it fits very, very snugly in here. Alright guys, after you've been sanding it a while, you can see we've reduced the diameter pretty drastically. You should have almost a slide slash frictiony, almost like a coupler fit in there. So that's what we're looking for. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this for a minute. We're going to grab our pump, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to wrap the base of our pump in electrical tape so that is just kind of tight on the inside of this. And I think one wrap of electrical tape will do it. We'll just do, looks like, one wrap down here at the bottom, and I'll go ahead and speed up through that real quick. Alright guys, what we're looking for on that is we're looking for a nice snug fit on there. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take a little bit of our very rough sandpaper, and we're going to actually try to get inside of this piece of PVC pipe, and we're going to sand it out like so. You just need to scuff it up so that we get a nice epoxy bond, and that's pretty good there. And we're just going to scrub the outside of this tube here at the very end. Something like that. Just rough it up a little bit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up a little batch of epoxy, and we're going to glue this on like it was before, like that. And you see this little gap here around here will be filled in with epoxy, which will be our bond. It already fits on there pretty tight, even with just the electrical tape, but this is just, you know, to hold it while we're pumping. So let's go ahead and mix up some epoxy and lay it on. Alright, now while we're applying the epoxy, make sure you get some on the electrical tape itself too. So let's go ahead and lay it on. Make sure you twist whenever you're putting it on, and let any excess actually drip back onto your little pad. Take any excess that flew off and try to lay it into the top here, just around the top lip. And now we just want to wipe off any excess that we have on the outside, because this PVC piece still needs to fit inside of our pump tube. And we'll grab some of our toilet paper, or we'll grab some of our paper towel, and we'll just wipe off any overhang that we're happen to be getting. And then we're going to want to either hold this in our hands, or we're going to want to hold it upright somewhere so that the epoxy seeps down into the tube itself. And there's already plenty in here, I'm sure. And we just need to let this dry, and then what we're going to do is we're going to epoxy into the first tube here. But let's just go ahead and let this dry first so that we can get a good press on it. Alright guys, now that we have our pump tube assembly already glued together, and we also have our long length of tubing, I'd probably say about 2 feet, glued on and the connector screwed back in. You want to go ahead and do that first before you insert this part, because once you put it in there, it'll be very, very hard to get to. So let's just go ahead and put this together. I'm going to show you guys how it needs to slide together. We just need to put the tubing through the back end first and come up through and just kind of thread it through. Now you see it's still a nice tight fit, and the way that I've sized this for 1 3/4 will mean if we put it all the way in flush with this, then our pump will have plenty of, it'll have about a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch of space before it hits the shell. So let's just go ahead and mix up some more epoxy, and I'm going to epoxy this in. But first, we need to go ahead and just sand in the inside of this a little bit, just to give our, epoxy something to bond to. Just a real quick scrub, get it nice and rough in there. And what I would like to do, since this had lube in it at one point, is I would clean it out with a rag with some rubbing alcohol on it, like I usually do when I clean things. So just go ahead and clean out the end of this here. And let's go ahead and mix up some epoxy and get this all glued together. Alright guys, now that I got this epoxy mixed up, let's go ahead and slide this thing together permanently. watch that you don't get any on your table like I am right now. It's a good idea to lay a sheet of paper actually under your mixing, where you're mixing at. I have a steel topped table, so this will actually wipe off with a little bit of rubbing alcohol with no problem at all. Just make sure you rub plenty over this whole piece here. Make sure it's nice and even all the way around, but you're applying a good thick coat. And then make sure you just twist it in to where it's flush around the edge. I need to go about another eighth, it looks like. Just a little bit more. There we go. And now look at it down the barrel and make sure it is, not the barrel, the pump tube. Make sure it's looking nice and straight in there, and it is. Keep on wiping off excess. And get a look at this. See how it's nice and parallel here? That's what we're going for. Now we can just go ahead and set this off to the side to dry, and we'll move on to the next segment. We'll probably work on the tank seal next. Alright guys, well I originally said that we were going to be doing the rubber seal method, but it's just kind of a difficult thing to show on video. So we're actually going to just do the simple craft foam seal. Now this is just standard, you know, fairly thin craft foam. I'm going to do 4 layers of it, which is going to completely breach the gap between the tank and the turret while still giving me about a foam thickness of compression to work with. You can always add more if you need to, or less if your craft foam happens to be thicker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue 4 pieces together and do just a block that is big enough to cover the front of the tank, as you see here. So I'm going to let the hot glue gun heat up, and then I'm going to press the tank into it like so. So I get a imprint, and then I'm going to draw around the tank, and then I'm going to take this piece of brass here, and you see where this indent is. I'm going to cut it out with a piece of 17/32 brass, and then I'm just going to cut around the edges with scissors, and then we'll be right back when I have the tank seal actually fabricated. Alright guys, now that we have our little 4-layer foam donut, essentially, what we need to do is you just need to glue it onto the front of the tank. And we're just going to use hot glue for this. This just makes it very easy to repair, and it has a really good seal usually. So let's just put a little ring of hot glue around here, and let's just go ahead and glue it right onto the tank here. There we go. Make sure you give it a good press all the way around. Wipe off any edge bleed that you get, and be careful not to burn yourself. Go ahead and press it in there. And there's our seal. So we're going to test, and I'm going to show you guys the compression that we're getting on here. You see this little pin back here, how I have to squeeze the turret a little bit to get it to overlap? That's what we're looking for, because when we put in our little pin here that I've got that I need to pick up, I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, or on camera, but back it up a little bit. We're going to push down. This might be getting a little blurry, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to stick our pin in here. Then we're going to put our little rotation piece right there. And we're going to have something like this, which gives us a nice compression on the seal, which will in turn give us, you know, a nice bit of pressure. Let me get the pin out. Give us a nice seal. That's what we're looking for. So that's essentially it for the seal. So I think that'll be all that I cover this week, guys. Getting a little bit of foam tearing right here. But whenever I get access to a Dremel, when Bobo comes over later this or early next week, then I'll show you guys the rest. In the next video, we're going to be doing the little polycarb parts that need to hold on the spring, and we'll be discussing spring tension for the rotation locks. And then we'll probably install everything into the shell. And then once that's over, then we'll be doing giving it away, of course, like I've already told you guys a couple times. Now that will be running on Facebook, so make sure you guys know about that. Go ahead and like the Facebook, which is below. And I'll try to have a video up very soon for you guys. I'm trying to get through my email inbox, and we'll just try to work through everything. So I hope you guys all have a nice day, and wherever you're at, and I'll talk to you guys later.